Magic 92.5 WGHQ. Great songs, magic memories.
Like even her old girlfriends might be talking her down. She's got her name on a grapevine, running up and down the telephone line, talking about someone said something about something else someone might have said about her. She always figured that they were her friends, but maybe they can live without her. It used to be her town. It used to be her town too. It used to be her town. It used to be her town too. Well, people gotten used to seeing them both together. But now he's gone and life goes on. Nothing lasts forever. Oh no. She gets the house and the garden. He gets the boys in the band. Some of them his friends, some of them her friends, some of them understand. Lord knows that this is just a small town city. Yes, and everyone can see you fall. It's got nothing to do with pity. I just wanted to give you a call. It used to be your town. It used to be my town too. You'll never know till it all falls down. Somebody loves you. Somebody loves you. Darling, somebody still loves you. I can still remember when it used to be her town too. It used to be your town. It used to be my town too. You never know till it all falls down. But somebody loves you. Somebody loves you.
Life, so they say, is but a game and they let it slip away. Love, like the autumn sun, should be dying, but it's only just begun. like the twilight in the road up ahead. They don't see just where we're going, and all the secrets in the universe whisper in our ears. All the years will come and go, take us up, always up. We may never pass this way again. We may never pass this way again. We may never pass this way again. Dreams, so they say, are for the fools, and they let them drift away. Peace, like the silent dove, should be flying, but it's only just begun. Like Columbus in the olden days, we must gather all our courage, sail our ships out on the open sea, cast away our fears, and all the years will come and go, take us up, always up. We may never pass this way again. We may never pass this way again. We may never pass this way again. So I wanna laugh while the laughing is easy. I wanna cry if it makes it worthwhile. I may never pass this way again. That's why I want it with you. 'Cause you make me feel like I'm more than a friend, like I'm the journey and you're the journey's end. I may never pass this way again. That's why I want it with you, baby. We may never pass this way again. We may never pass this way again. We may never pass this way again. We may never pass this way
Thanks for listening to the biggest and best music variety anywhere in the Hudson Valley. It's from Magic 92.5 WGHQ. You know, local radio on AM and FM is free for you to enjoy every day. And the amazing music variety here on Magic 92.5 WGHQ is created by local people just for you. Radio listening this year is stronger than ever. 92% of Americans listen to radio stations like this one for several hours every week. That's why we're an important resource for Hudson Valley businesses who want to reach Hudson Valley people. We can target listeners in Ulster and Dutchess County. You won't be wasting your money putting your message in front of people who won't or can't support your business. Call 845-340-1555 or email magicsales@wghq.fm. And stick around because there's more of the most amazing variety of great songs and magic memories coming up right here on Magic 92.5 WGHQ.
Hey man, getting ready for your big annual barbecue tonight?
Yep. And this year I got it down. No last minute problems. Just gonna relax, grill some burgers, and celebrate the summer.
Yeah, remember last year when you ran out of propane and couldn't get the grill going? So we had to move the party over to my house? Or last winter when you had to shovel out the driveway during a storm to let the emergency delivery guy in because you forgot to order fuel? Or the time...
Hey, comedian man. Not this year, buddy. I'm on auto delivery now. No more checking the tank, wasting time, or having to pay those extra fees.
Hey, maybe you should hook your mother-in-law up on auto delivery too, so you don't have to keep running over to her house to read the fuel gauge.
Brilliant! Somebody get this man a beverage.
Hi, I'm Rich Mullerally of Star Gas Products. Get peace of mind this summer and take control of your gas delivery by signing up now for auto delivery. It's free, saves time, helps your budget, and can save you money on extra fees. Dependable delivery, dependable service. See stargasproducts.com.
If you haven't noticed, it seems that these days it's becoming harder and harder to get people to agree on pretty much anything. Everybody has a different opinion on just about everything. Luckily, there's still one thing that we can all happily agree on, and that's the great taste of Smoky Rock Barbecue in Rhinebeck, the original New York-style barbecue. The best meats, the best spices, and the best way to bring your family and friends together. Let's all come together at Smoky Rock Barbecue in Rhinebeck. That's the American way. Reservations requested.
Hi, I'm Eliza Bozensky from Anderson Center for Autism. Ready for a career you'll love? At Anderson, opportunities abound. Everyone on our team earns a minimum of $15 per hour and enjoys over 6 weeks of paid time off in the first year. You'll also receive comprehensive benefits like medical, dental, and tuition assistance, not to mention the fulfillment you'll get from helping optimize the quality of life for people with autism. Send your resume through our site, andersoncenterforautism.org/careers. Can't wait to meet you.
I'm Jennifer, a retired veteran. Money's tight, but I shop right by planning my meals ahead of time. When making a shopping list, I check for ingredients I already have along with their expiration dates. I save money by buying only what I need and sticking to my list. Learn how you can shop right when money's tight. Visit snapedny.org. Save time, save money, eat healthy.
SNAP-Ed is funded by USDA Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. This institution is an equal opportunity provider.
Magic 92.5 WGHQ. Great songs, magic memories.
There was something in the air that night. The stars were bright. Fernando. God bless you, please, Mrs. Robinson. Heaven holds a place for those who pray. I know you're the only woman that I'm dreaming of.
A fresh new mix every hour from Magic 92.5 WGHQ.
something they had to leave behind. One regret from yesterday that just seems to grow with time. There's no use looking back or wondering how it could be now or might have been. All this I know, but still I can't find ways to let you go. I never had a dream come true till the day that I found you. Even though I pretend that I moved on, you'll always be my baby. I never found the words to say. You're the one I think about each day, and I know no matter where life takes me to, a part of me will always be with you. Somewhere in my memory, I've lost all sense of time, and tomorrow can never be, 'cause yesterday is all that fills my mind. There's no use looking back or wondering how it should be now or might have been. All this I know, but still I can't find ways to let you go. I never had a dream come true till the day that I found you. Even though I pretend that I moved on, you'll always be my baby. I never found the words to say. You're the one I think about each day, and I know no matter where life takes me to, a part of me will always be. You'll always be the dream that fills my head. Yes, you will. Say you will. You know you will. Oh, baby. You'll always be the one I know I'll never forget. There's no use looking back or wondering, because love is a strange and funny thing. No matter how I try and try, I just can't say goodbye. No, 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 no. I never had a dream come true till the day that I found you. Even though I pretend that I moved on, you'll always be my baby. I never found the words to say. You're the one I think about each day, and I know no matter.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
As a parent, your life is your child.
With Luke, he's the whole world, you know?
He was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, and it just rips your heart out. You feel completely helpless.
But when you come to St. Jude, that is a whole nother level of care.
You have cutting-edge scientific research here, doctors at the top of their game, and there's nothing but love in everything that they do.
I asked my wife, I was like, what is this going to cost us? And then we did a little bit of research, and then we realized that no family ever receives a bill.
St. Jude covers the cost of everything so that we could focus on our family. St. Jude gave our family the chance to be together. They saved our son's life, and we did not pay a cent. And that wouldn't have been possible without St. Jude.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy. and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter, yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Thank you, Lawrence. Good morning, listeners. 331-9255. This is the Kingston Community Radio Show, Wednesday edition, broadcasting live from our studios here at 16 Lucas Avenue. 331-9255 again is our call-in number. We'd love to hear from you. Alongside of me is Town Supervisor from Saugerties, Fred Costello. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I am fine, thank you.
It's a little bit cold and kind of dreary out.
Well, it's always cold in here.
It's always cold in here, true.
That it is. It's even colder in my office.
Is it really? What do you do in the wintertime? Do you turn it way up? Oh, caught him in the middle of a cough.
Caught him in the middle of a cough.
Coffee went down the wrong way.
You said some decent news about the weather, though. The storm's accelerated, so it'll get in and out more quickly.
Yeah, well, it's coming in earlier. Originally yesterday it looked like it was going to be we'd get the morning in and maybe a couple hours in the afternoon, but overnight it did pick up some speed. And then on the flip side of it, by sunrise tomorrow, I think everything's going to be over with, and we'll see the sun back.
I like that.
And unfortunately, though, it looks like they've shifted some of the heavier rain further north, where yesterday everything was going to be the heaviest rain down towards the city in Jersey. And now they shifted some of that stuff north and west. These storms have a mind of their own.
They do. What an odd year, though, because the western part of the country is dying for water.
I know. Oh, yeah.
And we've had an abundance.
We've talked about this for how long. And, hopefully behind the scenes they're working on some kind of a solution, and that solution may be a large channel pipeline that runs out to the west coast. From the Great Lakes. We've talked about that before. And another thing, in looking at all the devastation down in Louisiana, Mississippi, the southern states, especially with the electrical grid and the poles upon poles just completely wiped down in transmission lines. When will they start to realize we're going to be investing all this money time and time again for repair and put these utilities underground?
I know.
You would think, especially down south, because look at the frequency anymore of hurricanes,
You're right.
or other storms. Even ice storms. I mean, was it last year, 2 years ago, when San Antonio, Houston, Dallas got the
that was this past winter, yeah.
Ice storm and took down, again, power lines. And they're saying some residents, some businesses could be up to a month without electricity. And of
Here
course,
comes the lumber shortage again.
Down there, they're still, they get stifling heat, high humidity, so no air conditioning. The other thing is, a lot of people haven't been able to charge their cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a generator, and the likelihood of somebody going and getting their hands on a generator down south is.
If you didn't have it before the storm, you're certainly not going to be able to get one.
I don't know if I mentioned, but when the last storm was due to hit with us, Henry, I reached out to Chris Giatrakis with Davis Mechanical to see if, even if I had to put a deposit on a generator that could run the chiller plant. And what they had done, because, again, there was a case where that storm had moved, they shifted a lot of generators and equipment over into the central and eastern parts of Connecticut and Massachusetts from New York State. And, of course, the storm came further inland.
Yeah. You can't. Mother Nature's always got her own plan.
Yes. Well, that's what I say. You know, they have a mind of their own.
These storms are certainly getting more difficult to manage. I mean, Louisiana and New Orleans, that area, you know, some of those pictures are devastating. And quite frankly, I don't know if it's wise to go back out and put houses on those barrier islands. You know, they got devastated almost entirely during Katrina, and it looks like a lot of those communities are entirely devastated again.
What is the one, Grand Isle?
I think that's what it was, yeah.
The news reporter was flying in a Coast Guard helicopter, and there were aerial scenes, and mass devastation.
It looks apocalyptic.
Yeah.
There's, everything's been leveled, and, the debris from a home is hundreds of feet away from where its foundation used to be. And, I think you just got to put up the white flag and say we can't build out there again.
It was good to see that the work that they did after Katrina on the levee system and the pumps
all worked and held up.
That all worked and helped tremendously, or it could have even been worse.
Yeah, with that volume of rain and wind, had the pumps failed or the levee broke again, we would have been watching the same scenes that we watched during Katrina.
Central Park has been keeping records, I think they said, dating back to the mid-1800s, and it was the second wettest summer on record, or the second wettest. The summer isn't technically over. Maybe at that stage of the game, when I heard it earlier in the week, I think I heard this Monday, it had been second. So if that's the case, and they're doing it on meteorological summer, they could wind up in after this storm
setting a record,
the wettest summer. Yeah.
Again, an amazing contrast, because California would pray for a raindrop.
Oh, all those
west
states out there,
and we have it in abundance, almost to where it's become problematic. And quite frankly, we're in September, and when I think about July, it wasn't really much of a month. It rained a lot.
It rained a lot. Yes, it did rain a lot. I think all total, we were right near 15 inches. We had that one stretch where it was 11 and between 11 and a half and 11 and 3/4. That was like in a 10 or 12 day stretch.
Yeah, that was a lot of rain. We fared well though. I don't recall having to evacuate Lighthouse Drive or any of the hot spots that we typically have. I'm probably jinxing myself talking about it.
Yeah.
Because we're in the midst of a storm. But we've been fortunate so far. And hopefully
the way the weather forecasts were, we brought 18 cots. In fact, they're still over at the Greco Center.
Just as a precaution.
I thought for sure that we would there would be some evacuations.
Yeah,
or people losing power. Even those people not down along Lighthouse Drive that typically get flooded, but people out West Sorgeties, that way there that might have lost power and needed a cooling center.
Cooling station, yeah. We always have town hall lobby open, and we can rapidly open up the senior center. But even though we've had some fairly extreme heat this year, we've done okay with that as well. We haven't had extended power outages where we were compelled to open up those resources as a cooling center. So, summer's not over yet.
No, it's not.
Got a little bit to go. I'll be worried about snow pretty soon.
Yeah. It's September the 1st. Yeah. Wow.
I can't believe it.
Wow. Yeah.
I can't believe it. But, exciting. Too early to reflect, but we had, the Stallions winning was a really nice highlight for the summer. Winning their championship, that was fun. And
State American Legion Baseball Championship.
Super fun.
That worked out extremely well. That event came off extremely well. Obviously, the organizers were very, very happy with it. Mother Nature gave us a bit of a break, even though Saturday night into Sunday morning, it rained a bit, but so yeah, there were quite a few highlights. It was a busy summer, and whenever you're busy, but it seems every month is busy.
Yeah, September we have
The time even flies further. Mm-hmm. We got the virtual auction that's going on for the butterflies.
Butterflies, yeah.
That the Sorgady's Village Chamber is that's their undertaking that they've done. I couldn't even make a guess how many years they've done this.
It's
Peggy's going to be joining us next Wednesday at 7:15 because we have a full slate, and she's just going to talk about because the final day to bid is Saturday, September the 11th. And speaking of September the 11th, we're going to have our annual that we've been doing now this will be the 20th year.
Mm-hmm.
911 ceremony at the
Saturday
Veterans,
evening, 6 to 7, I think it is.
6 to 7,
Yep.
yeah.
And that has become a tradition for Sorgady's to honor it that way. And one of our reasons for moving it from the morning was to, especially during the work week, was to give people the opportunity to come out and participate, and it has helped with that. There are more people participating. Yes. And certainly this year is the 20th, and it does fall on a Saturday. So there was some conversation about moving it, but other communities have stayed with the traditional time of the event, and a little bit out of respect to what they've planned, we stayed where we have been for the past 20 years. So
which I think is good. It gives other people the opportunity. Also gives people in neighboring communities the opportunity to come to Sorgady's also. And the county is doing a
they have
fairly
an event
large event
down on. They're going to do it at the fairgrounds.
Right. Okay.
County Fairgrounds.
Yep.
They've really made kind of a fair type atmosphere for their plan. They're going to have some entertainment, obviously a number of memorial opportunities, and some food trucks. So they put together a really nice event, and I think there's opportunity for people to do both if they wanted to. So good stuff happening, and it's 20 years for that too. Hard to believe.
Yeah. And
Greg, this year I think for us it's going to be a little bit even more special. Beyond it being 20 years, earlier this summer we unveiled the Jack Rose Memorial, and that just brings another air of remembrance and memorial to that event. So I think that will complement and make the event a little bit different, and I think it'll those emotions will be right there for all of us who participate.
Agree. And this Sunday is the Hoolie on the Hudson.
Yes, that's a big event
taking place down on the Strand. That's always a good time.
Well, this year it's a little bit special for those of us who knew Bill Yash.
Yeah,
because he's going to be honored with Hoolie this year, and there may not be a Hoolie without his support and involvement and vision for it. So it'll be a little bit special for that too. But we didn't have it last year, so this is a pretty special one too.
Sure. Yeah, there was a lot of these events that we did not have last year. And then the Sunday of Columbus Day weekend, I believe, is the Italian American.
Yep. Actually,
also down on the
that's coming right up too.
Strand.
I got a little bit of some folks who helped organize that. Marianne DeGroat sent out a flyer, and we should make a copy of it and leave it here to remind people. And I'm sure Tony's going to have someone on to talk about that. If not on our show, certainly on one of the other mornings. So that's a great event too. And then we'll be talking about Garlic Festival. If you go 3 weeks in, right?
And then we're right, between that and the Garlic Festival, which is a week later this year. First time it's ever been the first weekend in October. It's generally always have been the last weekend in September, but the way the dates fell over at the Equestrian Center over at Tom Struzeri's hits, and we obviously rely tremendously on
his resources.
His RV lot for parking, and obviously we wouldn't want to have a Garlic Festival going, even though it's not one of his shows, because obviously he does rent the facility out, and just about every weekend he had an event in there this past
A lot of activity.
Yeah, it has been a lot of activity. So obviously we wouldn't want to no way be conflicting with an event going on over at HITS. And then also, again, we the resources for parking. One of the things that I strongly feel, because you hear this echoed many times from people, especially people that come from outside the area or those Sorgatesians that go to other large events. But one of the things that I feel lends to such a successful Garlic Festival is parking. No matter where you park, you can walk to the festival site. You don't have to be bussed in. Where some of these other events, they have satellite parking, and then you have to hop onto a bus. But even though there are shuttle buses that will take you from the parking lots, you can walk. You could do it, and it's not that far of a walk either.
No.
Part of that is that know what the distance was, and I can't think of it right now.
The distance from the parking, we're blessed because we're surrounded by the high school property and the HITS property, and they both are generous in allowing us to park cars. But we can park a lot of cars. The HITS parking lot's giant.
Oh, yes.
And it's all hard surface, so rain's not a factor. And the high school is a fairly large parking area as well. So
one nice thing with the high school, all their hard surface parking is marked, is painted. There's painted parking spots.
So it gets used efficiently.
So it's a little bit easier. But with the expansiveness of what we refer to as during the Garlic Festival as orange parking, that is just so enormous that if we ran out of parking there, we'd be in trouble.
It'd be a pretty big event. And I think one of the things appealing about that too is because it's on the same side of the road as the field, as the complex.
Yes.
We never have to put traffic onto Washington Avenue, so it really contains the impact of the Garlic Festival. So
yeah, and that when we used to use the east side of HITS for parking, that it was one of the reasons as Tom expanded on his RV parking that we stopped using those on the east side, because it would create traffic jams, and of course the shuttle buses run Washington Avenue. And they would get stuck in traffic jams. So now, the only people that go south on Washington Avenue that come from the north, and that's how they're directed off both throughway interchanges, is handicap and on-site parking. And for our listeners and viewers, we are doing the on-site parking again. The price has not increased. Since day one, it's been $10, and it's $10 this year. And it allows you to park on-site and very, very close to the entry gate. The parking in orange, the RV parking, is free. There's no charge for that. So the only cars headed south on Washington Avenue is handicap and on-site. And if you're coming from the south, the general parking is in Sorgates High School. And again, the only vehicles this time going north is handicap, and those going to on-site.
Perfect. It's interesting how that evolved over the
years.
Yeah. Because that event at its beginning grew exponentially, and to accommodate the attendance, it went from a 1-day to a 2-day, and brought the parking and the challenges of traffic. But over time, it really evolved into a fairly easy experience for folks that were coming.
Yes.
If you follow the signs, you might be a little bit confused, being forced to go one direction when you're hoping to go another. But in the end, you get in and out fairly quickly. And, if you come, you're going to have a positive experience. The entertainment's excellent. The opportunities for eating are almost infinite.
Yeah.
It's really a true celebration of garlic. And, and the craft vendors are all very good, too.
Yes,
it's
they are.
A great day.
Yeah.
So...
And, it's hats off again to the Kiwanis organization. We probably should we have 5 Wednesdays in September. We should get Doc Kapler or Janine or both.
Come on and talk about what they have planned for this year. Always a little bit of change. And, something else that's notable, though, those folks that have been doing it have done it, most of them for the entire time. Doc Kapler, Janine, Jack Wilsey, Sandy, that core group, Rick Smith.
Yeah.
They've been with it for all these years and as volunteers. And they've, how many, we put the sign up, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars have they donated now?
As of the festival in 2017, they went over the $2 million mark in what they put back into the community. That was 2017. So then there was the Garlic Festival of 18, the Garlic Festival of 19. There was no Garlic Festival, obviously, last year. So, because I can remember, I made up the banners for them.
Yeah.
One thing with Kiwanis, and it's a case with a lot of organizations, it's a case with you, it's a case with me. Nobody likes to gloat over their accomplishments. Mm-hmm. But when you throw that kind of money back into the community, people should know about that.
Absolutely.
Because every so often you still hear from people who have nothing to do but complain or want to complain of what the cost is to put on the Garlic Festival. Yeah, there's tremendous cost, but there's tremendous revenue. There's tremendous revenue. And then which you can't put an exact figure on, and even taking a wild guesstimate, what is the economic impact of the Garlic Festival? Not only Sorgeties, not only Ulster County, the Mid-Hudson region, but the tour buses that come out of the metropolitan area. Yeah, they're using the thruway. They're buying fuel. So you just can't look at, okay, what are people spending in Sorgeties? What are people spending in the complex at the Garlic Festival? But what are they spending to make the trip to Sorgeties? And then they got to eat somewheres. They got to sleep somewheres. Yeah. The hotels, forget about getting a hotel or a motel. Garlic Festival weekend, it's nearly impossible. When our friends came from Massachusetts a number of years ago, they had talked about it, and I had come in the year prior, and they said they were definitely coming next year. It was like November, December. I booked a couple of rooms for them.
Just to be
with
sure.
the thinking, there's always a cancellation policy. They're 24, 48 hours out, where if they had changed their mind, you'd still be able to do it without charge. But, so many people are repeat attendees, and I imagine they do the same thing. When they leave, they book for the following year. Just like many of our events, okay, or birthday parties. I mean, it's getting difficult to get a private birthday party because people, when they have their date, such and such, they book for the following year.
Yeah, they keep it.
Which,
it's telling when you walk through one of the parking lots and you notice 10-15% of those cars are from out of state.
Yeah.
Easily, it might be higher than that.
Well, I think the percentage from out of town is much higher than that.
Absolutely,
but,
yeah.
And out of state, I would say a minimum of 10 to 15%. So we got.
And then the only thing we didn't mention is coming is the Grand Prix, the HITS Grand Prix, the
triathlon.
Yeah,
October 11th.
It is pretty late for that.
It's Columbus Day weekend.
Yeah. It'll be fun though.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. That's a pretty nice signature event, and I've gone to it a number of times, and you really take for granted that it's just there, but it's a pretty special experience when you take time to enjoy it. So impressive.
We got a nice lineup here this morning. It's Law Enforcement Wednesday, so that means Chief Joseph Sinagra from Sorgeties, Chief Kyle Berardi from the town of Ulster, Juan Figueroa, our sheriff from Ulster County, and what's the new captain's last name? I forgot.
Mario Restivo.
Restivo, yes, from the New York State Police. So hopefully those gentlemen will be able to make it. And as I said before, when you're in that business, things crop up at the last minute. You never, ever know. So hopefully they have a quiet morning and they're able to join us.
Yeah. Always interesting to have those folks on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, of course, with school right around the corner, I'm sure they're going to
start seeing school bus next week.
Yeah.
Remember to drive a little bit more carefully. There's that first week of adjustment.
Wednesday's the first day, right?
I think so. that was some exciting activity at the school, though.
Yes.
With the filming. Sargis is host to a production studio who has a contract with HBO, and they are doing a production of Pretty Little Liars. And there has been more than a flurry of activity over the past couple of weeks. They did almost a week-long filming session inside the high school, and what an amazing, impressive, hundreds of people.
I still was blown away with what they did with the catwalk, and then the way they had it painted or decorated.
It didn't even look like our school.
It didn't. Boy, and the money that you stop and think the money that they put into it, and what was the shooting for? 10 minutes?
Yeah, it's going to be a very short clip.
Yeah.
What an amazing effort to get.
And then the refrigeration trucks that pumped
made the AC inside the building. Yep.
We had Mayor Murphy on last week, and Dana works in the school, and she was in there the afternoon or evening before and said it was freezing.
It probably was. But the logistics to pull that stuff off is incredible.
Oh, yes.
And then they used the Orpheum and that part of Main Street this week to capture a number of other scenes, and just pretty neat to see that level of activity. So, and that will kind of become a staple. You know, you and I have both seen such an increase in filming activity around Saugerties, some fairly the whole gambit of small, medium, and large productions over the past couple of years. But having a studio right within our boundaries is going to, I think, dramatically increase the pace of how often we see major production happening. So,
even though my brother works there, he's kind of Kevin's right-hand man, I have not seen that studio since they left there.
Again, too, I've been in that building probably 50 times, and somebody brought me in there blindfolded and took it off, I wouldn't know that I was in that building. It's dramatically different.
Wow.
I
got to get up there.
They've renovated and updated the whole thing, and those big bays that were the former printing rooms are, loaded with electric and studio equipment and sound stages now, and it's just incredible. So,
that is a resource to have that. And I can remember just after Kevin bought it, I went over with Greg Helsmore. Greg Helsmore, who was a supervisor then, introduced me to him, and then for a couple of winters we rented space over there from him. He gave it to us practically at a steal for our winter equipment because of shortage of winter storage.
I know we're out of time, but let me just throw a shout out to Kevin Pickock, because he had the patience to wait for the right tenant for that building. Mm-hmm. He had a number of opportunities to have users come in and take over, but he held out because he had a vision. And to land a film studio, wow. And
not just a home run, a grand slam.
Grand slam, not just for him, but for the community. There's opportunities to sell building materials, food service, lodging, you name it. There's 200 and something full-time employees in that building now. Yeah. And they're bursting at the seams, so they're going to expand.
Look at the close proximity with the thruway. You can't get much.
Can't do better.
Closer.
Yeah.
All right, we are at the bottom of the hour, so that means we're going to take a break. And Chief Joseph Sinager is on site. It must be Casual Wednesday, and we'll be back in a minute.
Listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Swimming pools are great for family fun, and Central Hudson wants you to play it safe. Never operate an electric appliance next to or in the pool. Be sure pool motors and filters are grounded. Have them installed by a professional and serviced by a licensed professional electrician. Be very careful if there are electric lines above or near a pool, especially if using long-handled cleaning tools. And if a storm is nearby, get out of the water. Your safety matters.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas for Habitat for Humanity Restore. Habitat Restores are nonprofit home improvement stores and donation centers that sell new and gently used furniture, building materials, and appliances to the public at a fraction of the retail cost. The Ulster County Restore at 406 Route 28 in Kingston needs your donations. Call our hotline at 845-853-7499 to schedule your free pickup. And thanks.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? By shifting to a system that gives more patients access to strong primary care. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
Screening exams for breast, lung, or colorectal cancers are necessary to detect and treat disease at its earliest, most curable stage. But you may have some concerns and questions. Answer your questions and ease your fears by visiting radiologyinfo.org. In addition to information on screening and wellness, you'll find more than 200 descriptions of radiologic exams, procedures, and treatments to help you prepare. Get informed and be prepared. Visit radiologyinfo.org. Produced by the Radiological Society of North America and the American College of Radiology.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio has been brought to you by the First Savings Bank in Ulster County that still remains local to this day. Ulster Savings Bank, a community bank that's invested in local business, invested in community, invested in you. Ulster Savings Bank, your one-stop resource for everything local. Locations throughout the Hudson Valley and online at ulstersavings.com. Member FDIC.
I'm trying to figure out where I want it. I see that. You're struggling.
Thank you, Lawrence. Welcome back, listeners. 331-9255. Those have been with us, and not only listeners, our viewers, those just joining us. Once again, 331-9255 is our call-in number. We would love to hear from you. In the studio alongside me, Fred Costello, supervisor from the town of Sorgetes, and our police chief from Sorgetes, Joseph Sinagra.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, Fred. How's everybody today?
Very good. How are we doing?
Good. Yeah.
We talked.
Yeah. You guys were very talkative this morning.
We had a lot to cover.
Yeah. We got a lot of ground. That's awesome.
A lot of covering. Yeah.
Greg's all set for the Garlic Festival now. Our next big event coming up.
Yeah, that is the next.
That's the next big one. Yeah.
Big one.
Congratulations to Sawyer Motors.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is this Sunday is Sawyer Savings Bank 150th Anniversary Community Day from 12 to 4 p.m. At the complex. It's going to be a lot of giveaways, and there's they got about 6 or 8 different inflatables. That's going to go into a children's area. It should be a nice event.
What a great tradition. It's amazing it's 150 years, but they really define how a community bank, what it should look like. You know, Doug, Jimmy, the whole administrative staff there is involved in so many community projects. And the last generation of managers, Cindy Saporito and Gabe Sotile and that crew, they did the same thing. And as long as my memory goes, they've always had that as part of, being involved in the community, being supportive of a number of efforts. And, Cindy's been part of Kiwanis forever.
Yeah.
And
let's not forget Jen Denier. She's been really the spark plug behind organizing. She's done a lot of work.
Sure has. So pretty neat to, celebrate that with them. And 150 years is a pretty good run. Yeah. And something that's a little bit of a trivial note, but something I kind of enjoy talking about is John Kirsted was the namesake of the Kirsted House, but also one of the town supervisors. I think the original for Sorgetes. And he was also a founding member of Sawyer Savings Bank. Pretty wild.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
I did not know that either.
Yeah, I'm full of trivia here and there.
Full of history.
I must have slept well last night.
You stayed at Holiday Inn Express?
I went and stayed at Holiday Inn Express. I think because it was cool enough we didn't have the AC blaring. You sleep more soundly without all that extra noise.
I like all that noise.
Do you really?
Yeah.
My wife does too, Chief. She would, if you parked her mattress next to the throughway with that steady noise, I think she'd sleep like a baby.
Yeah, I think
waterfall for sure.
I think it's because all the kids in the house. There's always activity going.
Out
oh
all
yeah,
the noise.
Well, I know. I just think I'm so used to all the noise that when it's not there, it seems like something's wrong. It's too quiet, It makes it hard to sleep. Hey, I just want to remind our listeners, obviously today is September 1st, and in 10 days we're going to be looking upon the 20th anniversary of September 11th, and we are going to be having a ceremony at 6 p.m. at Cantine Field on Saturday, September 11th. It is open to the public, so I just want to remind everybody about that. And I know a lot of the other ceremonies are during the day, and so just to avoid conflict, Sororities has always done theirs around 6 p.m.
I'm looking forward to this year, obviously, because it's the 20th. But also, a quick note, we did do a ceremony last year, and it was appropriate for COVID.
Yes.
It was, we didn't open it to the public as we has traditionally, but there was members from each fire department and
Police department, EMS.
And a number of political folks like me. We were all there, and we honored the memory of those that we lost. And, this year's 20 years, so it's a really important time to look back.
Yes, it is. Like I said, we'll never forget, and that was why it was so important last year that we continued to go on with the ceremony, even though, as you just mentioned, it wasn't open to the public. But that was very important that we did that.
Yeah, I agree. And Greg and I were talking a little bit. This year, the ceremony will be enhanced by the addition of the Fallen Firefighters Memorial.
Yes.
We unveiled that this year, and the timing fell on the 20th year anniversary, but it's actually the perfect time for that to be there.
Yes, it is. Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah. So.
And then I didn't hear all of it because I got in the car a little late. But did you hit on Diaz's fundraiser?
No, we
last
just
Friday night.
ran out of time.
What a great fundraiser!
Yeah, congratulations to sorry.
Greg and I were in competition to see who could eat the most clams.
They were good. Greg's a good clam.
He does. He puts them down. He puts them down. And they had both raw and steamers.
I did not. I didn't even make a trip to the dinner buffet.
Did you? No, I did.
Not when there's clams.
I didn't miss the buffet.
No. And then about with the appetizers, about the only thing I went after, those little, whatever the heck, like almost on a scoop, they were tilapia.
Oh, okay.
They were good. They were good.
Yeah, the spring rolls. I enjoyed the spring rolls. But they did, I guess they did a really nice job.
We didn't eat breakfast yet.
Yeah, they had a nice auction and some really nice items that they auctioned off and, some really good music. Obviously, Ian Flanagan sang and put on a performance, and you had Mike Spears did a stand-up comic act. He's good. Mike is good.
He's good. Both Mike and Ian, they've reached an element of national recognition in their success, and congratulations to them. But it's a real testament to their character that they both still take time out of their schedules and are incredibly generous and come home and support, Diaz and Hope Rocks and all these other community events. So, hats off to those guys. It's really special that they're still willing to do that. And I think Bob and Larry just announced that, and if Bob's listening, call in and such, celebrate it a little bit. I think they exceeded their goal for this year, which is
yeah, it looked like they were doing really well. I mean, they said there was over 300 in attendance, and I believe it. It was the place.
I shot Bob a text.
You just shot him a text. Good, yeah. So it'd be interesting to see how they did. I know I spoke to Lisa yesterday. They didn't have all final numbers in yet because obviously there's also expenses that are involved when you put something that sizable event on. So we'll have to see how it all filters out.
But I think it's there's something to be said for the community coming out to support that. There's a number, certainly the quality of the event, the hosts from Partition and Bella Luna, Chris Yeager and his wife Melissa, and those folks that made it possible there. Sawyer Motors, Ian, and the quality of the whole event was appealing, but it was for Diaz, and for the community to come out and support the way they did, I thought was
he sold
notable.
Sold out
really quick.
Oh, he did, and I saw that there was actually people that showed up that had not got tickets in advance, and they still tried to accommodate those individuals. So that was, speaks volumes that people in the community. I think that people in the community understand too. We have something very unique, sororities, as far as ambulance services. I mean, I was a paramedic for a number of years for one of the paid companies here in Ulster County, and I can tell you that what we enjoy in sororities, not every other municipality in Ulster County enjoys, because if they do have an ambulance service, it's volunteer. And it's getting harder and harder nowadays to find volunteers. We're in sororities, we have paid paramedics, paid EMTs, we have a paid service. And, the minute the call comes in, that ambulance is on the road. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that. And we really have to understand that how special it is up in Sorgeties that we have an EMS organization such as Diaz that's out there the minute that call comes in. I hear too often when I'm at my desk or out in the patrol car, other areas of Ulster County where County 911's canvassing police to respond to an EMS call because there's no ambulances available. And that's sad.
Yeah,
and
because so many times minutes are precious.
People don't volunteer like they used to, and the ones that do volunteer, to be an EMT nowadays, the amount of hours that are required, and then the continuing ed hours, and then if you're a paramedic on top of that, you have to get paid. It's just you just can't do it for free anymore.
Well, you look at the volunteer fire companies, and you know how all of them are struggling. But look at what you have to go through with training to work your way up the ladder to become chief.
Right. I mean, just even a basic firefighter, though, just take a look at the amount of hours that you're required to do per year to maintain your certification, as an interior firefighter. So it's, people have to, I think sometimes we have to step back because I know that there was some discussion over Diaz's budget and what they're asking for. I'm looking at the town supervisor.
I know. But I think we have to have them on.
So I'm not here to attack. I'm not here. But I think the people in Sorgeties, I think they get it, they understand it. Because, listen, when somebody's having a medical emergency, you don't want to wait 30, 40 minutes for an ambulance or for an ambulance to have to come from out of county or maybe 2 municipalities over if they can get a crew together to come and respond to that emergency.
Yeah, so the thing that sets our relationship with Diaz apart is the town actually enters into a contract with Diaz to provide 2 ambulances 24/7, 7 days a week. And when you get your January tax bill, you'll see there's a ambulance district charge, and the revenues that are collected from that ambulance district charge are in support of Diaz's operation to maintain those 2 cars 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And those cars are exclusive to Sorgeties. So the problem that Diaz has run into is the call volume has increased in a manner that a third car is justified at this point, and there are occasions where both of the current ambulances are en route or in service, and that third call comes in, and then we rely on whatever resources might be available from surrounding communities.
Or
the occasion where that's happening is increased to a point where now Diaz is saying in order for them to maintain the level of service that we've enjoyed, they have to expand their capabilities to include a third car.
And what I've seen recently, and when I say recently, I'm talking within the last 12 months, I see more and more of is that the adjoining municipalities that do have an ambulance service are not getting the ambulance out the door. So Diaz is actually being forced to quickly drop a patient off at the hospital and then turn right back around and then respond, lights and siren from Kingston back up to Sorgeties for that other medical call.
We had a situation last year right on Hutton Field 4 where during a softball tournament where one of the girls got hurt. I think she actually passed out, and both rigs were tied up, and it took a while before Mobile Life got there.
Yeah, because depending where the ambulance is coming from, It could be coming from either Lake Katrine, or it could be coming from Rosendale, or it could be coming from Highland. It depends. So
it was, just a matter, was Diaz going to get back into service there before Mobile Life? But Mobile Life actually, and I bet it was a good 20 minutes, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah, so obviously that isn't what they envision in their mandate. They want to be responsive and be there significantly more quickly than that.
Right, but if you have a scenario, you take a scenario where they get dispatched, say it's a couple of minutes before, say that incident that happened at the field, and both require transport to the hospital. Well, that turnaround time is going to be an hour or more.
Yes. Yeah. Just drop them off and push them out the back.
And what hurts us sometimes too, and we fail to recognize, is when you have like a multiple casualty incident, where you have, 2 or plus patients, as a result of a car accident or an industrial accident, mostly in Sorgeties it's because of motor vehicle accidents. I've seen them take two people, sometimes 3 people in an ambulance because there was no other ambulances available. And, that's concerning. So, I'm glad to see, like, Bob Sarcasano and a lot of our really, really, really good people, good-hearted people that we have, Ward Bacchus, Larry Sarcasano, Ian Flanagan. You take a look at Mike Spears, like we said, they come out and they do these benefits to help offset cost.
And, Steve Thornton and Doug from Sawyer Savings Bank and all those folks we were just talking about, their dedication to the community, they all have been actively involved for decades in trying on the Diaz Ambulance Board to make sure that organization is run efficiently and fulfills this mandate to our community. So, we're blessed, and it is unique. It bears a cost, and this budget cycle, that's something that's going to be reflected in our proposed budget. So, we're getting into that season where people are going to start paying attention, and that's going to be one of the drivers this year. So,
awesome. So, okay, so I stopped.
I think it's important to have Diaz come on. Okay?
Yeah, I know, I really do.
Squeeze them in and let them talk about what they do and give a similar presentation on air that they gave to our residents.
We'll get them in one of the
town board
half-hour
meeting.
slots, the fifth Wednesday of the month.
Yep.
Got to bring Lisa and Jerry in.
Yeah.
They're a great crew together.
They are. Yeah, Lisa's she's so passionate.
She is, and she's phenomenal. She's fun.
really
Manages that place, and she's there day in and day out. Yep, good people.
Good people. We're fortunate.
Yes, we are. So budgets
we're really so. In my seat, I get these unique opportunities to learn, obviously about Sororities, but then see what other communities do and how it's handled. And ambulance is a huge issue for many places, even communities significantly larger than ours with significantly more resources are struggling.
Right.
And, there's right from the infrastructure that defines EMTs as non-essential. A lot of the stimulus money that has been flowing for the past 18 months, ambulance services were not entitled to because they're not considered an essential service. In many cases, they're strictly defined as a transport.
You had the same look on your face I had, Greg.
Yeah,
they're not considered essential.
They're not. No.
Wow.
No. So there's a lot of movement.
Where's the method of madness behind that decision?
I just think it's something that falls through the cracks and it doesn't get the attention of the state government because there's always something large that gets a lot of that attention. But, Senator Hinchy's talked about the importance of acknowledging their service and making it essential, and that's been an ongoing conversation. But, what
about fire departments?
I'm not sure about how that goes. I know the impact of ambulance services because I've had that conversation a number of times now. So
that'd be crazy that EMTs, now granted, fire departments, especially your larger fire departments, and there's more opportunity than smaller ones where they're saving lives. Right. But you take EMTs.
But I don't want to listen. I don't want to lose sight on this conversation. We talk about EMTs, and EMTs are totally awesome. And to become a paramedic, you become an EMT first. But again, what makes Diaz so unique is that you are getting paramedics. That's a whole higher level, an advanced level of medical intervention at time of crisis when somebody's suffering from a medical emergency, and we have to keep that in mind.
There's another component of the ask that they've presented to the town was that they have equity adjustments that they're trying to address. So a starting EMT is like $15 an hour, and you're not.
I go to work at McDonald's for that. I can flip hamburgers and give you fries.
Yeah, and
no pun intended.
And the movement in salary inflation has eroded that as an appealing income entirely. So you're going to basically volunteer your time and still need a second job to support your family, and that's not consistent with an emergency service that we rely on in our most desperate times of need. So they're hoping to, in one cycle, add the opportunity for a third car and make some of those equity adjustments in pay that will allow them to sustain their workforce. And everybody, almost every industry is struggling to fill its employment vacancies, and certainly they're having that problem as well. But there's a vitalness to that that's important to acknowledge and try to give them the resources that will allow them to keep. And they fell behind. If you look at other organizations, some of the private carriers and some of the other ambulance services in the area, their pay scale is better. So, the folks that are working for Diaz are doing that out of dedication and want, because they certainly could leave there and make more by going to a neighboring service.
Right. And we don't want to lose good people. We have good paramedics. We don't want to lose them. Hey, when's the, not to change gears here, but just change gears just a little bit because it's on the kind of the same lines, but when does the free money stop? When are people going to go back to work?
This week.
Is it this week? I heard it was coming up, and then I heard it might get extended, and I'd be very disappointed if it was extended.
I don't know, Chief. I think that whole thing's frustrating to me.
It's very
but it
frustrating.
is.
I see so many people with help wanted signs up, and nobody wants to work.
Yeah, and there's something else at play as well. I mean, certainly that is one of the factors that has diluted the labor market, especially for entry-level workers. And but there's something else at play. It's across the board. Every industry is struggling, and this is not a phenomenon that we've been accustomed to. We always talked about the importance of creating job growth and job opportunities and the economic ways that we might be able to achieve that. But right now, we're restrained from growing because there's so many employment opportunities that aren't filled that organizations are struggling to fulfill their mandate no matter what they do. You could, if you're a mechanical HVAC company, you can't fill positions. Restaurants clearly can't fill positions. Convenience stores, ambulance services, across the board.
Oh, I know. When we were upstate for a conference, we were up in Glens Falls, and every night we would go out to a restaurant for dinner, and you hear the same thing. Geez, we apologize for the wait, but we have limited staff, and it's what's the problem? And people don't want to work. They get help wanted signs up.
Yeah. And you don't even get people inquiring.
I know, it's amazing. But people are spending money. Did you see Marge Gallagher's article in the paper today with the sales tax revenues and the internet sales? It's amazing the amount of money that's being spent. It looks like Ulster County's projected sales tax revenue is probably going to be over than what they projected.
She was on last Wednesday, and she touched upon a bit of that. Mm-hmm. But what really got me this year is that high school and college students, they weren't collecting unemployment. We would get 15 to 20 applications normally a year, sometimes in the mid-20s, upper 20s. Zero. Suzanne, for the summer rec program, got 2 new applications. Just it's scary. We were very fortunate, first time ever. We got an intern out of SUNY Oneonta, nothing from Cobleskill, nothing from Delhi. But, those individuals, what are they doing? Okay. Or, maybe they're going, when you walk into Stewart's and you see where they're starting with no experience whatsoever, $14 an hour, up to, based on experience, $18 an hour as starting rates. Trailways, $1,000 sign-on bonus. You go down the Malden Turnpike, you could come out of Sparling Road, make a right-hand turn, start going down towards my house, and the thruway's got a sign for the hot shops, help wanted. You go further down, Leroy Holding on the right-hand side, help wanted. Right. Elna, La Dulce. Then you go same thing with Simulates. So in that little small stretch, there's 5, 6 with help wanted signs out. And you just.
I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, college students, I don't know. I mean, do they maybe think that their debt's going to get wiped, and so now I don't have to go to work and try to put some money away? I don't
know what to think.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal there is.
So as we were having this discussion to our viewers and listeners, Kyle Berardi.
I was listening.
You were listening. Town of Ulster Police Chief. Good morning, sir.
Morning. How are you guys today?
Good morning, Kyle. How are you? See, now this is a switch because usually you come in very casual.
Now
you're in uniform and I'm casual.
I said this morning. Last month Joe ragged on me because I had a polo shirt and dress pants on nonetheless. And today I come in a uniform. You
look more like an IBM.
Joe's in a polo shirt and jeans, listeners.
So I told myself what happened. So I started back to the gym 2 weeks ago. So now I change up at work like I used to. Because you remember, because you didn't do the shows with us years ago, but I used to come in always in jeans and
well, no,
and go up to headquarters
and then
you
started wearing a uniform from home every time I.
Well, because I took all the stuff at home because once the pandemic hit, the gyms were closed. So then I was going directly from home to work. But now,
right, so this is
now I go from home to the gym to work.
This is new trend.
This is what I expect. This is a new trend. This is a new trend. And listen, if you see me come in the morning in a uniform, then I start going to the gym, which would be bad.
Well, I don't use this excuse for the gym. I don't go
because one of the ill effects of the pandemic was that weight increase. So we're working at that. And it's funny too because
everybody got a COVID.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. And I'm not going to mention anybody's names. I don't want to embarrass anybody. But like last week, I go back to the gym, and of course, you run into people that you used to work out with, and they walk away, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I hope I don't look like that. I really hope that I didn't get that bad. So.
Yeah, you might not want to say names.
Yeah, I'm not saying any names. I'm not saying any names. And but I'm thinking, oh my God! I went home that night and told my wife. I said, I can't believe it. I said, I thought it was just me. That put on a little extra couple of pounds. Oh my gosh! Some people must have made a career out of eating and drinking the entire pandemic.
There's a lot of sitting around, dude. You were just talking about people not working.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! So, and then I was just telling the town supervisor. So now, of course, I'm smart enough to know I don't go in and try to do what I did the last time I was at the gym, So I go in and I cut everything down to like a quarter of what I was doing. And I'm still struggling. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to take me forever to get back to where I was.
Well, Joe, you got to be used to starting small, right?
That's right, I am. That was good. I like that.
That was good.
So, another person who slept at Holiday Inn Express last night. Right on his game.
That's how we're in, though. It's the first one we got. First small joke.
You got it. So, yeah, because I'm that guy at the gym that has to run. I have to look for the step stools so I can do the shoulders, so I can the pull-ups, because I just can't jump up high enough to reach the pull-up bar. So, yeah, that's me. That's the guy. So if you see somebody on a stool, come over and say hi. That'll be me.
Where do you go, Joe? Where do you go?
Planet Fitness. Got to go to Planet Fitness. There's a captain.
That's why you're always traveling through town, in the morning, Yeah. I hear you on the radio sometimes.
Other than, you won't now because my rental doesn't have a radio in it.
Well, if you weren't getting your car defaced up there in Saugerties, did you notice his car in the parking lot? It's quite.
It's a Jeep Patriot. Thanks, Bob. Really appreciate that. I thought maybe I could get like a Viper, something.
So
something really nice.
While Kyle was doing these small jokes, our state police captain Mario Restivo. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Morning, Captain. How are you?
Casual day.
Casual day.
Why they're all commenting.
So you got to listen to. Obviously, you don't listen to the radio on the way in, or you know you would know the reason. You know the reason.
Going to the gym.
This is the way I used to do it. Yeah, I started back last Monday. Good. Yeah, so it feels good. I'm a little sore, but and my ego's a little hurt because I can't lift what I used to. It was funny. I was bench pressing yesterday, and there's a girl like to my right on the bench, and I'm like, I got these little itty bitty weights. And she's got what I used to do on the bench. Oh yeah, I was like, oh my God.
So you were a little insulted on that, huh?
I wasn't insulted. My ego was hurt. Especially when I had to ask her for help to get the bar off. No, just kidding.
Can you spot me?
But it's good. It feels good to get back there. So
good for your health.
And hopefully there won't be another close down.
We are at the top of the hour. We've got to take a break, and then we'll be back for our next half hour and birthdays.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Central Hudson reminds you that summer thunderstorms can strike with strong, gusty winds, knocking down trees and power lines. If you see a downed power line, call 911 immediately to report it. Power lines can carry an electric current strong enough to cause injury or death. Stay at least 30 feet away from a fallen line. Don't try to move it or anything that has come in contact with it. And never drive over a power line. Remember, your safety matters.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer: the drug facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the drug facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/drug facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, this is Jim Quigley, supervisor of the town of Ulster, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
Rondout Savings Bank has a long history of serving local communities and maintaining a strong tradition of customer service excellence while providing each customer with the personal attention they deserve. Rondout Savings' approach to community banking puts you and the growth of your business in the front of everything they do. They're a different kind of bank and would like to tell you why, so please reach out to one of their expert business bankers for an appointment and let them show you what they can do for you. Rondout Savings Bank, always working for you and the community with branches in Kingston, West Hurley, and Hyde Park. Also online at rondoutbank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Thank you, Lawrence, and welcome back, listeners and viewers who have been with us here this morning. Those just joining us, 331-9255 is our call-in number. We have a full house here this morning. It's Law Enforcement Wednesday. Across from me is State Police Captain Mario Restivo, Town of Ulster Police Chief Kyle Berardi.
Morning.
Our comedian here this morning. And Sorgady's Police Chief Joseph Sinaga, Fred Costello, Supervisor of the Town of Sorgady's. And it is time for birthdays. What do we got, gentlemen?
It sure is. It's Wednesday, September 1st, and we want to wish a happy birthday to Santiago Cruz Jr. from the Cruz family and his friends.
Yeah, speaking of, it's September 1st. I mean, August is gone now.
Yeah.
But also want to wish a happy birthday to Mary Gruby from your friends at the Lunch-A-Bunchers. I wish I could join that group.
And today's winner of that famous cow pie is Mary Gruby. Congratulations, Mary. When you get the opportunity, get down to Boyce Dairy Milk House, 62 O'Neill Street, right here in Kingston, New York. Pick up that famous cow pie, which is courtesy of Boyce Dairy Milk House and Kingston Community Radio. And listeners, please continue to send those birthdays in. It's very easy to do. You can email to kcr921@gmail.com. You can postal mail to Kingston Community Radio, P.O. Box 4364, Kingston, New York, 12402. So once again, Mary Gruby, congratulations, happy birthday, enjoy your cow pie, and have an awesome day.
All right.
So I just want to remind our listeners, because as Chief Berardi pointed out, it is September 1st, and we're coming into Labor Day weekend, so we have to remind our motorists out there about drinking and driving and using drugs, whether legal or illegal, and getting behind the wheel of a vehicle. We will be out there. We've already started our what we call crackdown enforcement period, which began last week, and it runs right on through till Tuesday evening of next week. So we have extra patrols out there, and we're just looking for those violators, and there's going to be zero tolerance. So you will be arrested. So if you plan to indulge over the Labor Day weekend and you plan to party this week, I suggest that you find yourself a designated driver and don't get behind the wheel. Don't make that mistake. Let's make this a holiday to remember as a good holiday and not because of a tragic event. And then with that also being said, I have to remind everybody who's listening, because there's so much aggressive driving out there, one of the worst years that we have ever had as a nation and also as a state when it comes to the number of fatalities that have been killed on our public roadways over the past 18 months. Since the pandemic came about, it seems that aggressive driving is out in the forefront. I don't know why. I see, again, yesterday, everybody's got we have wireless phones. We have Bluetooth. And I see people still holding phones to their ears while they're driving, having conversations, having a cup of coffee, and really not paying attention to the road. And next Wednesday, most of the schools open here in Ulster County. So please give yourself extra time to get to your destination. Please be cognizant of all the children that may be crossing the roadway, the adults that will be crossing the roadway with the children. And again, for those that walk, please pay attention to the traffic. Please pay attention to the vehicles, because they most likely won't be paying attention to you. And I don't want to see us start off a school year with a tragic incident where a child is killed due to aggressive driving. So I can't say that any more sternly. Please, please adhere to what we're saying as a law enforcement community. Use caution.
It's important you say that. Be patient. Because one of the things I see are people, when the school buses stop, they start to torque themselves up because they're wondering why the parent is getting on the bus, trying to have that youngster get on the bus safely. And most times it's crying, right? We've all seen the kindergartner crying to get on the bus, or getting on the bus and crying. But just be patient. Remember, that parent is having a difficult day, just as that child is. Leave a little early. Great point, Chief. You should accommodate a bunch of time to get yourself to work, especially on the days when school buses are out there with their red lights flashing and those stop signs. Very expensive ticket, and you will lose your license.
And we will be, as a law enforcement community, right, Chief Berardi? We will be following school buses.
Yes.
And you will get ticketed. And when you get ticketed for passing a school bus that has red flashing lights and that little sign out that says stop, it's not a violation. It is a misdemeanor. And it is going to cost you big money and big points on your license.
And there's usually no plea agreements through court.
No plea agreements.
Trial. I went to trial on a stop school bus ticket years ago.
Did you really?
Yeah. I mean, they went to, obviously there's no deals being made, obviously in the eyes, like the chief said. It's a misdemeanor ticket, and passing a stop school bus is a serious offense, and there was no agreement, and we went to trial, and obviously it turned.
I guess for all fair, but what would the defense argument be on that one?
I don't know if they were aware of the fact, and I can't remember if there was an attorney there or not, but they're aware of the seriousness of it. Traditionally, tickets are able to be plea bargained outside of court. They're with the prosecutor or the officer, but I don't think they are aware of that. Pleading not guilty and preparing for trial on that was all in the same package deal. But
I can't believe something like that went all the way to a trial.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious how you think you're going to justify that one.
Well, I can understand it. If the motorist realizes at some point how many points that is on their license and it's a misdemeanor and not just simply a violation, yeah, I can see why they would try to fight it.
And sometimes they go there just asking the judge for leniency, pleading guilty in sense after before the trial actually begins, and saying, but this is my personal circumstance and this is what I'd like some accommodation for. And we have a lot of good justices in the county, and they do give some leniency, but it's usually just on the fine. The points they cannot alleviate.
Right.
That's a serious thing, and if the risk there is you hit and kill a child, that's going to be a hard one to live with. Never mind the ticket.
Just be patient.
Yeah, be patient.
Well, and traditionally, I mean, the route you travel to work is usually the same route you've been traveling for years. So you should know bus stops don't regularly change too dramatically, so everybody should know where the bus is going to be going and traveling through your neighborhood or on public highways. So you should have an idea to judge your time from that point.
Is it weird though, as humans, like, there's going to be an element of, school started when you see the first bus stop, and it takes a minute to click in, and then in springtime, when you see the first motorcycle, it kind of takes a second to realize, we have to look for motorcycles.
Or the first snowstorm.
Or you forget that you can't drive fast in the snow. I'm like, we're funny. We're just victims of our own. I don't know how to describe it. We're always
in full compliance, I see, with the county exec's order.
Yep. Of course. How are you, Sheriff?
Good. What do you want, vacation?
Got him.
This is great. I'm loving this. I am loving this.
The thing is, listeners, obviously, Joe likes to draw a little attention to himself, so he definitely likes this environment for himself.
It's good. I love it. This is awesome. I've never seen so many shocked faces.
What is this? What's going on?
So, oh my gosh. So,
Supervisor Costello allows him to wear whatever he wants now,
This was unexpected.
Shirts.
Yeah.
We'll
have a meeting after the show.
There you go. So Town Supervisor Costello he's trying a new way of raising revenue in the town. So he lets us wear jeans and T-shirts if we pay $20 a day.
Back on uniform.
And then that goes into our sludge fund, right?
I've ever seen a dry cleaning now. Did you, while I was getting our sheriff a chair, did you introduce him to our listeners and viewers?
Well, Sheriff Juan Figueroa is here. I said our sheriff just walked in. I mean, who else would our sheriff be?
How's everybody doing, by the way? It's good seeing you. I haven't seen you in a while, Kyle.
That's what I was just saying. They were like, "Hey, you heard from Juan?" I was like, "Ah, it's been pretty quiet this summer."
Yeah, we spoke Saturday, and I forgot to mention about the show Saturday, and I was like,
it's a unique time. How's everybody doing?
Good,
Very good.
Good. Obviously, I'm casual.
Supervisor, how are you?
Very good. Nice to see you.
Everybody, September 1st.
Yeah.
It is September, huh?
You feel like you had a little break over the summer? Or what?
I did take 1 week off. Ironically, something occurred during that week, and somebody said that I was actually here, and I wasn't. So I just find that astonishing, unless it's a Star Trek episode or something.
There you go.
But it's September, and as we all know, September 11th is right around the corner, and how ironic it is that here we are 20 years later, and what happened in Afghanistan and how all that plays a role in what we all do, whether you're in the military or as first responders, and how, how things are so different from 20 years ago, the way we as first responders are looked upon. And I just find that amazing. Me and the chief and Captain Appleton actually were involved in a project, which I thought was very amusing, by the way, but very serious. Yeah. Amusing because we can joke with each other, but I guess that's a mechanism that we use to defend ourselves. But the truth is, it's a unique time in America. It's a unique time for those of us in uniform, whether you're in the military, and we saw the debacle in Afghanistan recently, and coming up on the 20-year anniversary of September 11th, and how first responders were treated back then, and how things have changed.
Yeah, it's an interesting contrast, and it's a poignant point. There has been a dramatic, it was a point of pride to wear a New York City Police Department hat or a fire department hat, and now you don't see that happening very often.
Well, I think like we were talking about everything. I think people forget rather quickly. Forget about everything. You forget the tragedies. You forget, unfortunately.
I'm amazed it's 20 years, though. I really am. 20 years.
Well, I mean, not to date you guys, but just to let you know, I was just beginning my career in law enforcement.
Wow.
In 2001, I was a very young officer working down in the captain's hometown of Rosendale. Yep. And then, so 20 years later, obviously, I'm eligible for retirement.
Points that out every time.
Before we leave that point, though, you're right on. Certainly, the public dialogue about first responders and law enforcement in general has dramatically changed. But if a tragedy of that scale happened today, I have no doubt in my mind the same response, the same people who wear a uniform make that heroic response and go right back in there and help people the way they did.
But it's a microcosm of society, of our society in general. I mean, that was a unifying moment. For those
Absolutely.
of us that remember that.
Yeah.
It was a unifying moment, and how vitriol everything has become. Everything from, has been politicized. Everything from masks to vaccines. I mean, everything's politicized, and it's really, it shouldn't be. And I think I'd love to go back to simpler times.
Wouldn't we all? Yeah. I think I'm listening, and you're right, that project that we were in, it was sombering at some points.
You going to share with us the project, or is it?
I think we'll wait till it comes out on TV. We'll see on TV. We'll wait.
Our listeners in suspense, too.
But, I think the thing that stayed very consistent with the law enforcement community and first responder community is that we never forgot what our role is to our communities. I think in a lot of cases, and I don't mean this to everybody that's out there, so every listener shouldn't take this to heart. Certain listeners should. Some of our community members have forgotten what their role is and their obligations are to law enforcement and to first responders, and they forgot what our purpose is to them. And I think if they just realign and really think about, why do we have police, why do we have firefighters, why do we have EMS workers, why do we have doctors and nurses, I think there's going to be a moment where reality will sink in, and they're going to realize this is just a lot of hubbub, a lot of noise that was, as we said before, special interest groups have put out there, really to hurt what we're doing. So I've never, even though sometimes it's discouraging when we take a look at the 21st century policing as it's compared to in the 19th century when we got into policing for some of us, it's kind of interesting. We never forgot. And I just hope our community members will remember that.
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of good that law enforcement and first responders do every day, and nobody talks about that. But we also realized going through the process that we all went through last year, that it's okay to have some self-improvement too. I don't think anybody's saying that we're against that at all. I just think that if you look at what happened the last 2 decades and where we are today, it's astonishing.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And when you talk about the process that we went through, so I'll share my little experience. So the process really resulted in a police budget this year that I know is not going to fly. Because
why are you looking at me?
Did he present it to you? Because it's presented. I empathize with our town board. But the budgets are based on recommendations that came out of these re-inform, re-envision collaborative committees. And I think the public has to understand is that these demands that they feel that we should be implementing, they're going to come with a price tag that I don't think they're going to be willing to pay at the end of the day. And I think we see that reflection, and obviously in my budget proposal.
And you're right. I mean, look, we've always had our own instructors teach different courses within in-service training, but I think these new recommendations want us to reach out to the SUNYs in our areas like SUNY New Paltz or SUNY Ulster and get implicit bias training from professors rather than us doing it ourselves. And that costs money. That's not cheap. The Citizen Officer into Action course that was developed by the New York State Police like 20 years ago, I ran the program along with the town of Ulster, and that's not cheap. That costs money, but it's. I'm not saying it's not needed. I think it's a good start to where we want to go. But you're right, Chief. That stuff costs money, and it's going to affect all of our budgets.
Exactly.
I think the challenge for folks that share my seat is you want to put together, the best looking budget that you possibly can and minimize the impact on taxpayers to the degree that you can. And sometimes the decisions to do that take away resources that might enhance training, those intangible things that you don't see every day until something goes wrong. And but that's where those cuts generally fall into something that's a little bit abstract. It won't the average citizen won't notice a reduction in the police service or the response time or something like that. But over time, if you trim at those long enough, eventually it's going to manifest, and there's going to be a failure in the organization that could have been avoidable at some point in the future. So,
well, I think the other problem I think that really needs to be addressed too is when you're taking a look at implementing programs in an agency that's, you've got cops that have been on the job for 10, 15 years. You got to ask yourself a question: what was the hiring standard when that cop was put on the job? And I think a lot of the issues that we've had in the past would have been mitigated if we had standardized hiring practices. And not every agency has the same process for hiring.
Agreed, but there's also
which is coming, mind you.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, CJS is going to roll something out in a couple of years, and it's going to be part of our accreditation standards. 2 in particular. One is the hiring standards, which most of us have already here, thank God, in this county. Right. But there are other places, and some of the part-time PDs, even here in this county, that don't do that.
So I have a meeting
too, though. Every agency in our area has a vacancy that they would like to fill, and the pool of candidates to choose from may not reach those standards that we hope. And you can only leave a vacancy there for so long, so you might compromise a little bit.
It's getting harder and harder.
It's getting really tough
to recruit people already.
Yep.
I mean, I think we got to look at, as we're seeing the candidates, I think we got to look at the fact some of these candidates come with pass, as we notice. Their pass of, unfortunately, you gotta outweigh the pros and cons of it. But gone are the days where you get a cookie cutter candidate that has no pass behind them, and that's the thing. You gotta outweigh the seriousness of what the background discover on it. But
marijuana consumption defines your point, because in many cases, hiring practices up until recently, basically that was a disqualifying event. If you interviewed and you demonstrated a consistent use of marijuana, which is an illegal drug, you as a candidate were more or less disqualified from employment. Now it's legal. It changes that entirely. So that would be a change.
Well, no, actually, it's not going to change, because as long as it's still illegal federally, it is definitely going to be a standard that it will be an automatic disqualifier.
And if it's within your own agency's policies, you can probably still do that.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing is that of discipline. and discipline records that have to be reported now when that rolls out at the same time in a couple of years at DCJS. It's going to be an additional standard. So if it's the hiring standards and then reportable incidents that are disciplined that DCJS will get. And the issue that they were having was that the people were committing some pretty bad offenses, and local municipalities were keeping them, on the job when. And now the commissioner of DCJS can decide, that guy's got to get, because they ultimately decide who is a certified police officer and who isn't. So we as leaders can decertify individuals that really do some pretty bad stuff that are in law enforcement.
I think that's important too, because over my time being involved in law enforcement, there were individuals that we agreed to allow leave, and they did some pretty bad things here. And
that was before I was chief.
Yeah. Well, even unfortunately, there was
disclaimer.
One that I'm thinking of that happened when you were here, and that person should not be wearing a uniform. Betrayed the trust that the DPO put in them, and they left us and went someplace else. They shouldn't have been a cop there either. But if that implement you just described,
it doesn't happen now.
Not to us either. Just to let you know.
Yeah, if you decertify somebody,
that's it.
They have to go back to the academy again, and DCJS has to. So they're going to have a bigger role in that now.
And DCJS is actually going to. So come October, some of the standards that the sheriff is speaking of actually come out October. And one of the things now that's new to that standard is the fact that, as you said, it would be Mike Wood, head of DCJS, that would make the decision as to whether or not the person could actually go back to the academy. And in most cases, the answer is going to be no. It used to be that if we decertified, they could just go to another county, go through the police academy, and get their certification back. It's not going to be
the case anymore.
No. Which is good.
Understandable.
But see, I think that everything, when you take a look at the root of all the issues we've had in policing, it really does go back to hiring standards. Who are the people that we're bringing in? Who in their right mind would do some of the things that some of the cops have done in our nation that have caused such rift between the community and the police? So that's really what you got to take a look at. And how many times did we have other people in positions of authority that just turned a blind eye to it because they figured they couldn't do anything about it? And that's because we weren't given the tools to do anything about it. Now, we are getting the tools. We are getting the authority that we can decertify. So that, again, we police our own people, but we have to have the authority to be able to police our own people. And for the first time ever, we're getting that authority.
Kind of goes back to where we started this conversation. You need a strong enough administrative authority within the agency that when you identify somebody doing bad behaviors, there's documentation so that if that breaches a certain level, you can engage in an activity where you might fire someone. If you don't document anything, it never happened. Right. And you could, everybody will.
Documentation is a huge part of it. Key. But I also want to, let folks know out there that if an agency has a lot of discipline, doesn't mean that the administration isn't taking action. On the contrary, it shows that you are taking action, and you want to see that. Mm-hmm. It's when you see over a 20-year period, there's like one incident in 20 years, which is unlikely, then I would be concerned.
Agreed.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, none of us are perfect, and especially
absolutely.
as you're coming up through, there's going to need a lot of guidance and correction to make sure you're performing.
Type A personality
absolutely,
jobs, and there's always going to be small things like a disagreement with a supervisor or showing up late or doing something that's in violation of a minor violation of rules and regulations and policies. That happens all the time.
Yep. And,
well, I think too, not just within law enforcement, with what you gentlemen deal with. I mean, I think it's every place, even outside of law enforcement. Basically, what I've experienced over the last 10 years, where individuals become way too comfortable. They figure, okay, I got 20 years, I got 23 years, and I can do this and I can do that, and nothing's going to happen. And that's where a lot of them have that mindset. I can't get fired or I can't lose my job. I went through that, unfortunately, with a few.
Well, it's human nature. What happens here, you work in the same organization for a long time. You know the bosses because you climbed the ladder with them. And everybody thinks, he's a good guy. But does he or she do the job? That's the important question. Because if they don't, then you got to take action. It's not about.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, when you work in an agency like ours, that are smaller agencies, There are people that are related. That human factor plays a role in it. And these are generational jobs, and but you got to go to the basics, and that is, are you doing your job? Simple as that.
It comes down to that. And I think in law enforcement, and we've taken the proper steps. Our government, our legislators, our assembly, and our Senate took proper steps. So, if you're a police officer and you're charged with a crime now and you're convicted and it's a felony, you automatically lose your pension and you don't get your pension. So I think that's a deterrent for officers that wasn't there before. Unfortunately, we don't have that same thing that would apply to our governor, our past governor, because he's going to collect his pension. And I only bring it up because when we take a look at, I know because this is what aggravates me is we focus so much on the police. But what about every level of government, what we should be focusing on? And the price tag that we as taxpayers are going to pay because somebody in government does something dumb, okay, and it ends up, in this case, you resign from office, but we're going to pay the price tag. If you take a look at the anticipated lawsuits that are coming out of this, I didn't realize how much we already paid for his defense, which is absolutely ridiculous. The number of lawyers that we saw on both sides, Letitia James, our Attorney General, hiring extra attorneys to do the investigation. It's very costly to the taxpayers.
Go back over 10, 12 years, maybe you want to stretch it out to 15, but everything that has occurred in Albany, what that price tag back on the taxpayers, it's huge.
Yeah. So, but I will pay for the name change for the Tappan Zee Bridge. It's got to go back to Tappan Zee Bridge. I'll pay for that.
But that's the only. Isn't that the name of the bridge?
Oh, that's right, Tappan Zee. That's right. It is the name of it. You're right. You're right.
I hear a lot of people refer to it. Even I'll listen to the Peekskill station a lot of mornings. WHUD. They don't refer to it when they do the traffic reports. They don't refer to it as the Mario Cuomo Bridge. They refer to it as the Tappan Zee.
Still, we all grew up with that, so it's hard to let that go.
Yeah.
See, I wonder if the governor will be next month when we come
going back. I mean,
there's obviously I'm not commenting, but
I love to look at your face every time I say something.
You look right at me. I'm like, he was going there.
I know he was going there.
He was mumbling.
Behind my breath, I'm like, this isn't. It's a train wreck happening, and I'm just sitting on the tracks. No, let's just get back to the significant cost of some of these changes, because as you all know, we are in the process locally in my troop here in Troop F, and specifically Zone 3, we're rolling out our body cameras, and that cost has been an extreme amount of money for the people of the state of New York, and they, and it's, as you know, Sheriff, and I'm sure you all do that have body cameras in this room. It's the storage that gets us, and the equipment itself is not that expensive, but what they're charging to store and to house that data
is a crime.
Is incredible.
Well, these companies are obviously capitalizing on mandates and standards, and
so here's my question, and not to cut you off,
but when we were kids growing up, if you had a 64,
because here's what really gets me: we could avoid all that expense if New York State said, hey, every police agency carries body cameras, we're storing the data. And everybody offloads their data to one server in the cloud, and that's ran by and controlled by New York State. It's owned by New York State. No, we're paying third-party companies that God only knows if they're selling these videos, to other, to news companies, whoever, whatever, right? You have no idea where your video is going.
This morning.
So because this is what aggravates me. We never finish the process. I hear my wife right now in the back of my head, like she's talking to my kids. That last step, we never finish that last step. So if you're going to mandate that we all carry cameras, then why doesn't the state store it? Why are we depending on third-party companies?
We've been on the front of that wheel in circles. How many years have we had cameras? We're already in our second generation of
2014.
Yeah, and
we're in third generation now.
Third generation of camera. Okay. So on top of that, though, the storage.
We store in-house.
Significant thing. When we were kids, if you had a computer 64 megabyte hard drive, you were a big deal. Now we're multiple terabytes, and it's not enough.
The server costs a lot of money to store
Absolutely,
that.
yeah.
If you go to iCloud is even more money.
Oh yeah.
So it all goes
but
to
I
a
want to go
central
back
database?
I want to go back to the importance of now. By the way, the sheriff's office got a grant for our body cams. Just saying.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you're an agency less than 50 people, you don't qualify for the grant.
But I got to say, though, that I'm sure we've all seen this as an uptick of complaints against personnel.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God for the body cam.
Absolutely.
There's something that was on social media yesterday, and I had the bosses, the lieutenants, look at the body cam, and I'm going to look at it today. And It's somebody that's angry, that's getting a ticket, that's complaining and making us all look bad, saying that this is just revenue for the county or the town. No, it's not. It's safety. It's vehicle and traffic safety, and which is a major cause of that. And I heard the chief talk earlier about the uptick in aggressive driving here in the county. And so, body cams have their role. I'm a big supporter of them, and I know that they're expensive. And chief, you're right. The state should, pay for this. They're the ones that, like always, it's a mandate from the state that's not paid for. And we're all getting used to that here, but you're right. They should. If they want it done right, they should pay for that storage.
Ultimately, it goes into your budgets, which is then either your county exec's going to pay, your town supervisors are going to, say, hey, we have to put this in. And again, Chief, you're putting in a budget that, not that you're uncomfortable, but it's because...
Oh, no, he's very comfortable putting it in. Because if I get it, I'll be the happiest chief in Ulster County.
Receiving it.
It'll be all that fat,
I don't disagree with anything you put in it, but we can't fund the whole thing.
But in both instances that these complaints coming through, it's because somebody's upset that they got a ticket, and the individual that's complaining is wrong. It's on camera. And if I was to throw that out there, they'd be ridiculed. Right. They'd be the first to do it to us. But obviously, we would hold that. I withhold from doing that because I don't think it's worth it, ridiculing people, because that's the way of today. Everything's social media.
Yep.
But the truth is, it actually is saving the reputation of some of these officers that are getting complaints that are completely unfounded.
And I don't want to get too deep in the woods, but again, you're 100% right. Prior to the body cameras, and when those new cell phones came out with those wonderful cameras, everyone's carrying a camera. They record the officer, the trooper, the deputy, and the first thing they do is put it on social media, or now go live with it, and then it gets traction, and that traction builds angst, and that angst builds a disdain for police officers when, if you just wait and be patient and talk to all sides, you'll actually get to the bottom of it. Now, I've seen you, Sheriff, you've released some videos before times that you would have in the past, just because you're getting ahead of it, of that social media burst, to make sure that your deputy, your office is department. I'm sorry, is
office.
It's office. Okay, its office is well represented, and that there's not that immediate negativity towards your agency, which I think is very smart to do, because we have to get in front of some of these. Now, I'm not going to have that same levity as you do to release those things, but I do think you're right. This has been something, and the three of you can speak more intelligently about it, because I'm new to the supervisory role of body cameras, but I've heard from many departments, and I've talked to many of your department heads, that the body cameras are a great thing, and the officers are embracing them. And now we're roughly 2.5 weeks in, and I can tell you in my zone, I was very surprised to figure out. Now, I don't have all of my body cameras deployed at this point, but we've recorded almost 3,000 videos within 2.5 weeks.
Right.
And that's only Ulster and Greene County, and that's not all of the, now 98 troopers that I have on the road.
Right, and it's going to be a unique experience for the state police. As you know, I did 25 years in the state police. It's completely new to the state police to have body cams. With the good comes the bad, and you're going to see that obviously there's some things that the rank and file do that are incorrect, and they need to be corrected, and that's why I'm a fan of it.
Now, Captain, your storage now is obviously cloud-based.
Yes, it is.
Because of the amount of video you're bringing in, and that's not cloud-based with a state agency. Is that correct? Is it a third party?
It is the third party, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the provider of the cameras, I'm assuming. Yeah. So we've been doing it for 7 years, the cameras, and I got to tell you something. In the beginning, a lot of resistance from the union. We did it as a pilot, and then it was a demand by the union that we continue to have cameras. Because our personnel complaints went way down, and when we do get a personnel complaint, the first thing we do is we look at the video.
And that you're not unique. I mean, I've talked to 2 other agencies said the exact same statement.
Yeah. And when you bring a person, it's kind of interesting too, because when you bring the public in, because sometimes we all have this perception in our minds. Our minds are tricky, and this is we're too quick to judge always, and our minds don't always perceive things the way that they actually occur. So a lot of times when you bring people in and you show them the video, the first thing they say is, "Wait a minute, I know that's me and I know that's the cop, but I don't remember the interaction taking place like that." Well, no, because you were so upset at that moment that your perception of what was taking place and what was said was distorted. Mm-hmm. And now you have a chance, you're calmed down, and now you're seeing, and a lot of people get up in my office and they just say, Chief, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I acted like that. I can understand why the officer yelled, because I was yelling.
Maybe that's something for the listening public to understand. If you want to make a complaint, go and ask to sit with a supervisor and try and understand exactly what happened there, because your perception is one point of view.
Right.
And that camera doesn't lie.
No, that's a pretty honest mirror. When you look at it and you see the interaction, you might have a completely different perception.
But people have to understand too, cameras, because I want to backtrack. Cameras don't lie, but cameras, depending on frame speed, may not be capturing every split second of what's occurring. And that's the biggest problem that we have with body cameras is how many frames per second is it actually recording?
And the vantage point for which it's recording and the angle. I saw a video, I believe it was can't remember the state, so I'm not going to quote it, but there was a traffic stop where the camera of the officer did not catch the actual person pulling the weapon, but a separate officer at a different angle did catch it, and that officer was the first one to shoot.
Now, Kyle,
just that one camera, you'd think it was a bad shoot, but
right. And Chief Berardi will appreciate this comment, and he'll enjoy this comment as our stand-up comic today. But just think about a body camera on me. If I have it in the center of my chest, and Chief Berardi has it in the center of his chest, and we're at the same incident. Think about those two different perspectives, right? I'm looking up, probably at my angles going up. Where the chief's angle may be straight across, it may be looking down. So when you get multiple cops on the scene, that's the advantage you have with cameras is you have to take a look at all the camera footage to really get the real picture of what's occurring.
The great point is that technology has its limitations.
Absolutely.
And you guys identified that, and you're right on. You never know what happens before. You never know really what happens afterwards that's not captured on the camera. So the camera does have its limitations, but it's better than when we think, in most instances, at least we have something to go on.
That independent eyewitness account is what we're looking at with the camera. It's not the police officer saying it. It's not the civilian saying it. It's not the witness saying it. It's someone that can look at it and replay it. You know, there's a lot of things we miss just on the first run go around. You back it up, and that's the good thing about the camera. You can back it up, take a look at it.
But the camera also lacks the individual officer's perception of what's unfolding. Okay, so it's clearly, you see somebody with their hand, they make a movement, it may not look threatening on video, but to the officer, because of the situation they're in, and maybe because they have knowledge of this individual, they've dealt with this individual in the past, they know what their propensity towards crime is, or their propensity towards lashing out at a police officer, that all comes into play, and the camera doesn't pick any of that up. And that dictates the officer's actions. And we have to, and that's why, when we talk about like police commissions that are going to review body cam footage, and they're going to make a determination whether the officers acted appropriately or didn't act appropriately. Well, the first thing is before they can even do that, they have to go to classes like Force Science, and they have to understand, how does video work? What does it actually pick up? What's the difference between what you see on the video and what the officer perceived? Because the officer's perception definitely has to come into play. If I believe that my life is being threatened, then I am justified in using deadly physical force, right, as a police officer. But the camera may not show that. The camera doesn't show threat. You don't get threat through that unless you see somebody actually pointing a gun and pulling the trigger. But it's what actions do I perceive from my experience that are indicators that this is going bad.
That's why you have to have that follow through, not only on the training side where the departments and even my agents will use to help train future troopers and future supervisors of these are the things you're looking at, but also to make sure that we don't always just rely on that. You have to rely on the integrity and honor and the word of the police officer.
Exactly. As much as also the community that's observed what occurred. Everything, the totality of everything has to really be taken into consideration.
The point to take away from this is don't jump to conclusions. If you watch something, whether it's on television, on your cell phone, just think it over, ask good, important questions, and try to understand it, and you'll be better educated.
Exactly. Sheriff, you were going to say, I know I kind of cut you short a couple of times there.
No, we're good. I mean, I when we get done with this, I want to talk about the eviction moratorium.
Oh, let's talk about that, because that was one of my topics for today.
He mentioned it this morning already.
Yeah, he did that, and actually the unemployment benefits.
When are we going to, what did he say? When are we going to stop giving
money away?
Free
money. Free money on top of free money.
Free money on top of free money.
I mean, as we know, the Supreme Court struck down the CDC's federal government eviction moratorium as well as New York State's. And there's rumors out there that the governor is going to bring back the legislature and pass a new law. Right now, for us in the sheriff's office, we are business as usual, unless the individual has put in an application for the rental assistance program that the state has put in place to assist landlords and renters. And if it's an old eviction, we're going to go back and request a new We have no choice but to deal with what the court says. So if a local court or judge states this is a valid eviction and it's pretty active and new and recent, then we have no choice but to, by law, to go ahead and proceed with that eviction, unless, of course, that the renter and the landlord have agreed to use the state's rental assistance program, which is online, by the way. Anybody can go online and put in an application, and you'll get a copy of that once you submit that application online. It's in flux because the new governor may decide to pass a new law and call the legislature in and do that. So right now, it's business as usual, depending on what that particular judge says, and it can't be a stale eviction. It's got to be something that's recent.
In this morning's paper, I saw that Assemblyman Kevin Cahill has indicated that they are going back to the drawing board on that particular piece of legislation. It will look different, but he's confident that there is going to be some sort of law put in place.
Right, so I got to do a shout out in support of the landlords, though. There's landlords that haven't gotten rent in almost 2 years, and they're going to lose their property, and that's sometimes lifetime of equity that they or their family have dedicated to that property. And it's just not okay. And there are people manipulating this situation. There are people whose income has not been augmented by COVID and has not been negatively impacted. They receive stimulus just like everyone else, and they still refuse to pay their rent.
I know. I told you. I conveyed this.
The mechanism is to go through an eviction process, which under the new rental standard could take 6 months. So you're going to tell a property owner, you have to maintain the mechanical systems on that property. You have to make sure it's safe and compliant with the state building code, but you're not going to get rent for almost 3 years. That's you're
got to go in and make repairs.
They can't afford to own that property, and that's not okay. And if they go back to the drawing board and encourage the state legislators, there has to be a mechanism where landlords can apply independent of a tenant who may just be gaming the system. Unfortunately, there are people who are gaming the system that are not eligible for this level of relief and have made zero attempt.
Right.
Yeah,
we've seen people were claiming that it was an illegal eviction because the landlord was paying for the utilities, and all of a sudden the utilities are off because the landlord didn't pay for it. And when we sent our deputies over to the landlord, come to find out, the landlord doesn't have any utilities either because he can't afford it.
Can't do it.
So that's not an illegal
person. Yeah.
And so those are the issues that we've been seeing and running into. And yes, on both sides of the aisle, there are some landlords that are also taking advantage of the situation.
Absolutely, yeah.
But you're right. The landlords are suffering just as much as the renters.
So that's where I would encourage, judges are called judges for a reason. Open the process, let landlords go in there, and if they're wrong, the judge will tell them, hey, this is not a lawful eviction, we're not going to award it. But if they're right, they should have the right to recapture their property and make it productive again. It's this is broken, and I understand the urgency that we experienced almost 2 years ago to try to help people, and there wasn't the resources to go through and means test a lot of these programs. We all want to help our neighbor who needs it, but just to blanketly give everybody extra money was not a good thought.
Wasn't the answer. That wasn't the answer.
We certainly want to help the people that are in need. There has to be evidence that there is, in fact, a need. And that's where things are going wrong. And I feel like the court system is absolutely equipped to sift through that. If I'm just trying to get rid of my tenant because I know I could rent that apartment for more than the lease says, that's not a lawful eviction, and that's not okay. But if that person is refusing to pay rent because they just don't want to, that is absolutely a lawful eviction, and that landlord shouldn't be punished either.
I think the Supreme Court has already ruled on this, and even if the governor goes in and does a new moratorium, it's got to be within the realm of what the Supreme Court already said, because in that law, the state law cannot supersede federal law.
It's federal law, no. No.
Sure. The interesting fact, and maybe some of the listeners don't know, but your agency has a civil division that coordinates or helps the landlords with the eviction process. Will this, if this opens up and there are a lot of judgments of eviction, how will this back up that process?
So we're a neutral party. We go with what the court says. We don't assist. We don't give any legal advice to landlords because we're not allowed to, and we don't give legal advice to tenants either. What we will do is explain what the law is, and if we get calls, obviously to road patrol for illegal evictions and such, then we'll send a road patrol out there because that's a misdemeanor, under the real estate law. And so, right now, this county is not as bad off as other counties. I checked with our chief civil administrator, and I believe we had like 40 evictions that are backed up. And we usually do around 2 a day. We try to keep it at that. We try not to do more than 2 a day.
Time consuming.
Very, very time consuming. And there may be things that we didn't know about when we go to the eviction, that either the landlord or the tenant will say, hey, we've come to a solution. So we would did you reach out to the court? And the court makes that final determination. Our hands are kind of tied. If the court says you have to go and do this eviction, then we pretty much have to do it unless there's a proof otherwise. We have, doing this moratorium, obviously, if there was a stay, or if the tenant would submit a hardship application and they had a copy of it, we would stop doing the eviction. But that's kind of changed now. It's almost business as usual again.
And my thought process is, if you have a significant number of evictions, and now you're taking, like you said, maybe from the road patrol, not your civil deputies, that's obviously going to impact the state police and your agency for the towns that we police that do not have police departments.
Right.
So let's just hope we can, together, you and I working together, can maybe supplement some of your.
But you're right. But
calls.
the 40 are in the system now. Once the moratorium, which was up today, September 1st, we're going to see a rush of eviction processes in front of the court, and then we're just going to have to even them out and figure out a way to get them all done. But we also want the tenants and landlords to take advantage of that, the renters program that the state's put out. And I think if the landlords can take advantage of that, that maybe we can cut back on some of these evictions.
Okay. I know
sure, but you need a tenant who's actually can prove that they've been impacted in some way and sign that they qualify. And in some instances, that's not the case. They just knew they didn't have to pay, and they didn't have to pay Central.
It's got to be in conjunction with the landlord.
Yeah.
It's not them themselves. So when they submit that application, the landlord has to be in agreement.
Yeah. Yep. So it's going to be it's crazy. I can't believe we're having to deal with all this. There's a undiscussed issue pending as well, and a lot of towns have water and sewer districts that we basically run, and they're quasi utilities. So the utility companies are not allowed to shut off power right now in many instances, and Central Hudson and everyone else, they kind of operate on the premise that they're going to have a 2% non-payment rate or something like that, and those are built into the rate so that they can make their bill. And right now, towns, many residents don't pay their water or sewer bill when it comes. They allow it to be re-levied onto their January tax bill. Well, the opportunity for re-levy will not exist this year. So those bills that went unpaid because that was the practice of the property owner won't get paid, and that can last up to 2 years. So there's going to be accumulation of outstanding water and sewer bills, and then 2 years from now, they're going to hit all at once. So I wish there was a little bit more dialogue about that. Just because you didn't pay it does not mean it's not owed, and that will become a lien on your property at some point. So if you have done that practice in the past, you should reconsider and make those payments, because you still incur penalties. But if you don't, 2 years from now, there's going to be a fairly substantial outstanding bill for water or sewer utilities.
And then when you go to try to sell your home,
that would be
ain't going to happen. There's going to be liens on
it. Over a couple of years. Yeah. So for sororities, it could equate to almost $250,000 a year in operating revenue that we may not capture. That would have a dramatic impact on the operations of our water and sewer department. So as we go into this budget cycle, we're considering how, if that's realized, how are we going to manage that from our own perspective? Because that's not revenue just being set aside. That's revenue that pays the salaries and the maintenance of the systems that distribute water and sewer to our homes.
Why isn't it being levied back onto the tax roll, though?
There was a law adopted that would not allow that re-levy to happen for
the
2
state
years.
law? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
again,
I know, but it's well intended, but there's a consequence to it, and it's going to create a management problem for the individuals who are trying to operate in that environment, because there's not going to be those revenues. But then look out 2 years. Now it's going to cause economic hardship. If your anticipation is your property tax bill is going to be $7,000 or $8,000, and now all of a sudden it's 13 or 14 because there's 2 years of unpaid water and sewer bills. That's going to have
compounded by interest on.
Oh yeah, and then you'll be subject to the penalties and all the rest that go along with it. So, if your bill's bigger, you're a third larger than it might be, and you have an escrow account or something like that, it's going to have a dramatic impact when that all hits at one time. So, I know, probably 10 or 15% of property owners do that as a practice, and in most years, you suffer the late fees that are associated with that. But this year, you're going to skate for 2 years. When that hits the wall, you're going to owe all that money all at once. So if you've done that in the past, you should reconsider and try to catch up on those payments before you find yourself in a situation where your property tax bill is a third higher or more 2 years from now.
I want to talk about Labor Day.
Labor Day, let's go. Yes, 8 minutes left.
I just, Labor Day is the unofficial end of the summer, but it's more important than that. It's we're all middle class folks here. Our parents are middle class, and
can't
that,
afford to.
Well, some of us are middle class, but
which you can't.
This guy's wearing Gucci sneakers. But the importance of the labor movement, the importance of unions, the importance of working to make our society better. Labor Day is a big day, and it's about the middle class, and it's about working, and it's about working in a society to make it better. That's what Labor Day to me means, and that of the unions and the importance of protecting workers' rights. And we all want a better society, and I think sometimes we forget what Labor Day is about. And Labor Day is it's always been a big day in my family. My father was a $11.99 guy forever, and that's how I got teeth in my. I had to get braces when I was a kid. It was because of $11.99. So that was my dad's union, and I was a member of the state police and part of the union. And of course, now I'm in management, and I have a few unions that work, in conjunction with the county to get a better deal for people that have been working through a pandemic. So, Labor Day is it's a great holiday, but let's not lose the significance of it and the importance of it.
I'm glad you brought that up. And then, one of the things, every country in the world, no matter how rich or how poor, has very wealthy people and poor people. And one of the things that sets us apart from everyone else is that we have this huge middle class of people who, make our economy what it is and create the revenues that make our country as strong as it is. And certainly we wouldn't have that perhaps if it wasn't for the unions. And, we all enjoy a 40-hour work week and many other benefits. Well,
the backbone of society, the working class.
Yeah, that working middle class is really the bread and butter of it all. And that's just true. I mean, Afghanistan is as broken as it could possibly be, but there are rich people in Afghanistan. And unfortunately, there's a high percentage of poor and disadvantaged folks. And one of the things that sets us apart is we have this huge middle class, and we enjoy a fairly comfortable standard of living, and that opportunity is there for everyone.
And I think you mentioned it earlier, Chief. Let's just celebrate safely.
Well said.
Well, it has to be celebrated safely, without a doubt. We always talked. I'm sure you have extra patrols out for Labor Day, for the weekend, and actually all this week. Yep. Yeah, we're all out there. And again, just to remind our motorists with the last 5 minutes we have left, if you plan to indulge this holiday, please have a designated driver. I can't stress that enough, because the last thing you want is to be sitting in the booking room handcuffed and have somebody like me walk by and say, "I told you so. This is where you were going to end up. You didn't listen." And trust me, I'll do it. If I see you there, I'm going to tell you, "I told you so." So
how about getting back to work and all those help wanted signs that we see out there?
Yes.
Get in the working spirit and get back and give back to society and help our own local economy and buy local. Definitely buy local.
I think you got to respect all the professions out there. I mean, I've spoke to numerous contractors over the last several months and stuff like that in all types of fields, and there's a demand on them, and there's not enough of them to go around right now. They're like, okay, I'll see you in a couple months. type of mentality because they're just all booked.
And the restaurants and mechanics and all the people that can't find employees. Think about it on your own daily routine of going around your towns and your villages and your county. The places you used to go and patronize that are no longer open, and when you talk to the owners, they say, because I can't find staff. No one wants to work. So let's get out there and work and reopen these businesses.
Amazing. Yep.
The free money's got to stop.
Well, that's right. And what's going to happen when that gravy? What happens when that gravy train stops? Then everybody's going to be making a mad rush to try to get hired, and then what happens when you get there and there's no position for you? So now's the time to get out.
Yeah, get up, get in front of it.
Exactly.
I think in a weird way, the labor shortages and the supply shortages actually jeopardize us coming out of the pandemic and the economic recovery that we're kind of entered into. But I believe it's fragile. If you drive past any car dealership right now, there's no cars, and those sales folks and those operations can't make their annual budgets if they can't have those sales and transactions go along with it.
Order police cars right now, and you got to plan in 2021 for 2022's vehicles.
Oh, exactly. Trying to buy prime rib. We had this discussion the other night, right?
The other night.
Trying to buy prime rib. You notice if you go to any stores, you can't find prime rib?
Yep.
Yeah, because the meat packing plants are all closed down because nobody's working and they can't produce it. I was in Subway getting lunch, and I was getting a healthy lunch at Subway, and a gentleman came in and asked for a roast beef sub, and the lady behind the counter said, "We don't have roast beef anymore." And he's like, "What do you mean?" He says, "We can't get it." That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and weather's going to play a factor into this as well. Yep, because in the South, especially around Louisiana, where the oil refining industry is there, vinyl siding and all those other products that are made from oil refining were in jeopardy a couple of years ago because of a weather event. We just had another one. So there's a possibility a little bit down the road that there's going to be shortages of those materials again.
Well, look what's happened with gasoline.
Gas is on the rise.
2019, I was watching 48 Hours the other night, and Saturday night, and they had an incident where it was a homicide in 2019, and it was outside a gas station, and they were showing the gas station convenience store, and on the sign, gasoline unleaded was $1.98 a gallon.
That's what you noticed?
That's what I noticed.
Yes.
Oh, and I
wasn't watching the crime party.
No, did you see that sign? They pan back to the sign, $1.98 for a gallon of gas in 2019.
Yeah. We've been probably more fortunate than we should with the cost of gas over the past couple of years because it certainly was below inflation, and that's rare, but now we're flipping it.
Oh.
And it's
Everything's going
up.
We are out of time, gentlemen, and Captain Mario Restivo, thank you for taking time out of your busy day, likewise with Police Chief from the town of Ulster, Kyle Berardi, Police Chief Sorgadis, Joe Sinagra, our Sheriff Juan Figueroa, Town Supervisor Fred Costello. Thank you all. Thank you, Lawrence. And most importantly,
Greg Chorvis.
Thank you, listeners. We'll be back here next Wednesday.